Now, hi everyone, welcome to our X39 review with Testimonial. I am so excited to have Christine here with us today, and she is going to tell you her testimonial. I have had the pleasure of knowing Christine now for about the last 2 months. She is one of our leaders in the Spanish Zoom testimonial meetings on Saturday with Consuela. She runs those meetings, translates everything in Spanish, and we are opening up a brand new market. So look for those recordings. They're on Telegram. You can send those to Mexico. You can send those to Santa Ana. You can send those anywhere. And we just really want to thank Christine. And she told me the testimonial for the Spanish market. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got to share it with all of us as well, because you know, Christine's going to tell you, you know, what her story was before X39, how she found X39, and what her life is like now. And what really hit me was she's had some thyroid issues and some MRI insult that I think really affected her hair, her body, her immune system, fatigue. And she's going to let us know what really happened. It kind of was like, wow. And then she'll let us know how she's healing now, and also working this beautiful business in the English and Spanish market. So maybe she'll give us a little hint on also how to work in the Spanish market. That would be great at the end. So Christine, please welcome. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And so I'm Christine, and I live half-time in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and half-time in Sarasota. And I began using the X39 in February. I'm very passionate about being the best that I can be and health. And I make huge demands on my body. I dance Argentine tango in Argentina 25 hours a week. My sons were competitive tennis players and played tennis in college. And they're always looking at me for health solutions. I was extremely fortunate to live in California when the natural health movement began, and that awoke a very deep curiosity for health in me. The health technology today is just fascinating, and when I heard about X39, I just said, wow, I have to try this. And I will say my changes in the beginning were subtle. In 2013, I was in a car accident here in Sarasota. Someone hit me from the back. I was not driving, and it started a rotator cuff injury. By the end of 2013, after a consequent fall, because I didn't have the correct balance, I couldn't even feed myself in 2013. I went to 5 different top doctors here, and they suggested that I have a reverse shoulder replacement. I left the last office in tears, called a doctor I had met in Argentina, which was the doctor of a tennis pro that I followed, Willie Cañas, and I packed 2 bags and left for Argentina. After having physical therapy for 4 weeks, I was suggested to have surgery, which I did in March of 2014. And that started a journey and a crusade, how I was going to get the shoulder to work. The rotator cuff, by the way, is 4 tendons, and I had injured 3. And in the surgery, 2 were repaired and 1 was only clean. And after completing physical therapy for 8 months there, I was about 85% and was using a lot of different modalities to get well. Every year, consequently, after that, I'd have an MRI to just control that everything was properly. In 2018, I had an MRI at a new digital imaging office in the medical building. And they had a new MRI that was called an open MRI, and I was not familiar with that type of MRI. I did not know that the technician wasn't well trained, and he forgot to put the headrest for my head and my neck. And after the MRI, 25 minutes after that, I could not get myself up from the table. I was nauseous. I had severe headaches. And they sent me to traumatology on the 3rd floor. They escorted me up there, and I started kinesiology. And nobody knew exactly what happened to me. They were unsure, and the medical people say, well, we've never seen this before. And 3 days later, I had a severe loss of hair, and the conclusion was that I've had hypothyroidism since I'm 26 years old, and perhaps just the emotional fright that I went through made me go from hypo to hyper, because I had many of the symptoms of hyperthyroidism. So I started doing everything from Ayurveda diets to cranial massages and everything, but I still had a tightness in the connective tissue of the head, headaches, which I'd never had headaches before. I just wasn't emotional myself. And 3 months after using the X39 was the first time that I didn't feel like the head was being pressed. And still I had a little chime there. And I felt like I was returning to being myself. In August, it's 6 months since I'm using the X39. And my blood results from my thyroid, the numbers have improved a little bit, but most important is that I feel good, that my hair texture is more substantial, my length of my hair keeps growing, my skin is softer, firmer, and I have those little spider veins, they've disappeared from my legs. I'm so excited. But what I really wanted to emphasize to you and tell you the story of how it's helped me emotionally for support. In March of this year, I went to Argentina, and I was leaving March 3rd. And when I arrived, I was totally unaware of what was going to happen, right? On the 9th, I self-quarantined. And then the 19th, the country closed. No commercial flights. From my apartment, there were, the streets were completely empty. There was police on one side of the block and police on the other side of the block. My Wi-Fi connection was very weak. My phone service was very low. I had lots of calls from friends telling me they were scared, they were anxious, and I felt complete calm. I felt that I had a greater faith. I felt that on this uncertain time that everything was going to be all right. My children, my 2 sons, they called me and they said, Mom, do you think you're going to be able to leave Argentina? Is it safe? Is it risky to fly? And I said, don't worry, it'll be okay. Well, through the American Embassy, I was able to get a charter flight for the first week in April. And every day they changed the flight, because this is a special charter flight. On Tuesday I was supposed to leave, and then Wednesday, and then Thursday. And finally I was scheduled to leave Friday at 9:30. I had a special card from the embassy, 2 letters for police barricades, 3 police barricades to get to the airport. And when I got to the airport, I found a line 4 blocks long. I took a deep breath and looked at the line, and I said, that's my new home for a while. And by the time the flight left, that was supposed to leave at 9:30, it left at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. When I got to Miami, I rented a car. I got there at midnight. I rented a car and drove to Sarasota. And by the time I got to Sarasota, it was 5 a.m. in the morning. The next day, I reviewed in my mind the last 48 hours. And I said to myself, where did I find that energy? where did I find that emotional support? And I looked at this little patch that I have here. And I said, it has to be the X39. I just don't know where I had this amazement strength. And so I came home and I started working the business. I was invited to this lovely community that I appreciate so much. I've learned so much. And here I am, and I'm propelled to help others and see if they can have some benefits like I've been able to have.
Wow, Christine, what a story. You know, it was her experience on the X39, right, that made her say, hey, I want to join this community. I want to move this business, and I want to be a leader in the Spanish market. And I thank you. And I am so glad X39 is so beautiful. And, you know, I'm going to just say a few things about what this patch is doing for Christine. That's what it looks like. It's the X39, and it's the stem cell activation patch. It activates you non-invasively. And if you see X39, that means it took David Schmidt, our owner, inventor, CEO, 39 times to come up with the right light wave. And it's his 3rd generation, and it's only a year old. So what does this mean? How does it work? Why is Christine in the middle of COVID on charter airplanes going here, going there, 48 hours of chaos, fine, calm, faithful, everything's okay? Okay, well, let's see. So this is what she's talking about. That's what the patch looks like. And you know, it kind of looks like a Band-Aid, but it's so much more. Inside are organic crystals, and they're made out of amino acids, salts, and water. They're actually made right at our facility. In fact, we are a completely vertical business. Everything David owns, and that's awesome. So when this patch gets put on your skin, the light or the heat of your skin, it activates these crystals and it reflects back a light wave. And that light wave is a certain length. Much like, have you ever gone out into the sun and it's ultraviolet light? That's a smaller light wave actually, and it elevates your own vitamin D. So David Schmidt, our owner, inventor, CEO, figured out how to create different light waves to elevate different peptides or proteins in our body so we heal. So this particular protein that gets elevated is called GHK copper peptide. And if you go to PubMed.gov, that's the Institute of National Health website, and Google GHK copper peptide, you'll see it's the holy grail of anti-aging. It does some pretty cool things. It helps with bony tissue, connective tissue. It actually creates more fighter cells to go after fast growing cells, and it helps with scarring of the lungs. In addition, this is the crazy part, it is the protein that actually activates your own stem cells again, makes more of those stem cells, and resets them to a younger, healthier state. So why is that important? Well, stem cells are how we heal. Stem cells are how we stay young. Stem cells are why your 18-year-old child or grandchild sprains his ankle and he heals in a second, and why we don't anymore. And that's because at age 30, we lose 50% of our stem cell activity, or let's say mobility. And by age 60, we've lost almost all of it. So I don't know how many of you are on this call in the 50 to 60 range, but let me tell you, I am, and I've lost almost all of it, right? And so here's what happens when you put it on. So what Christine did is she put it on below the back of her neck, or she put it below her belly button, and she would wear it 12 hours on to activate, and then she would throw it away, and then 12 hours off to repair, and then she'd put another patch on. She could wear more than one patch if she wants, and any spot will do, as long as she takes it off every 12 hours. It's like a light. You got to turn it on and off, on and off. If you keep it on 24 hours a day, it just doesn't work. Your body gets used to the change. So you got to take it on and off. So I think what was going on with Christine, honestly, when you hear her testimonial, is she had that car accident that really messed up her shoulder. And then she's had thyroid issues anyway, and she goes to that MRI, and I don't exactly know what was going on. She didn't get the headrest. Somehow she got some kind of frequency in there that stirred up her injury here, and also stirred up her thyroid, because she got fatigued, she couldn't move her head anymore. And when she told me, like, her hair, like 50% of her hair fell out. I mean, as a woman, when she told me that a couple of weeks ago, I mean, that's horrifying for a woman. You know what I mean? Like, that's scary when it comes out in, you know, in lumps, clumps, you know? And so basically what happened is, this stem cell is called a pluripotent stem cell, which means it can turn into whatever your cell needs for repair. And I don't know what Christine's body needs first, but her body knows. And it sounds to me, just from her story, is that that army started to work and mobilize again, and it went up to her neck and her head, and it started working on that connective and bony tissue that stem cells work on, as well as GHK works on. And then from there, it moved to start helping with her hair. And then, of course, it moved to the brain to help with her energy, her fatigue, her emotional state. And let me tell you, fatigue and energy, and kind of that, like, you can't really be clear in thought, that all can happen from overexposure to things like she was overexposed to, or to thyroid shifting. And so when she said that it all balanced again, you know, when she's flying back from to the US, I think then the pluripotent stem cells went up and started fixing the wire in her brain, started giving her the energy, helping her with the fatigue, and just giving her, like, everything is going to be okay. Her brain started to rewire. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, it went first, it seemed, to her neck and her throat, and back of her head, her cranial, and then her hair, and then it just rewired her brain. And Christine, that's really cool. And no wonder you wanted to start sharing it, right? Because it was working. And so that's what the stem cell activation patch does. And I will tell you that David has been around for 15 years. This is not a young company. He has a backbone, a system already in place. He has about 15 other patches, and he's in 100 countries. And he basically said, you know, our human body is made out of physical, emotional, and spiritual, and the physical is disintegrating for a variety of reasons. What we eat, what we drink, GMO, the different, you know, frequencies, radiation in our environment. And so I think it's really interesting. He's kind of like an Einstein. He's kind of like a genius. And somehow he figured out how to use light to elevate these different peptides or proteins in our body to basically, like, stabilize the human body. And so it's pretty cool. And he has been doing this now, like I said, for 15 years. The X39 is his latest and high and greatest, so to speak. It's stem cell activation non-invasively. And many of you might have seen stem cells in injections, $10,000 a pop. Can you imagine if you just took one of these once a day, and basically for less than a cup of coffee, you're activating and elevating your own stem cells, not somebody else's DNA? It just makes a lot of sense. David got a patent just 3 months ago that says, yes, indeed, this patch does what it says it does. And he has a 20-year patent. And before X39, this company was doing about 50 million a year. But in 1 year, because of this patch, we are on the, people are seeing us now, right? And we hit momentum, and we are doing about $100 million a year. We've doubled in 1 year. So where we have the backbone and stability in all the countries of a more mature company, we have the growth of a young company. So it hits all the boxes, so to speak. And so that's pretty cool. So if you would like to try the X39, you can get one sleeve. There's 30 in a sleeve, and it is $149.95. and you can get with the person who brought you here and say, I'd like to try a sleeve of this. Or you can go to their website and click buy. You can also become a preferred customer and you get it for $99.95 a month. And you could go to your person's website and click buy again. You can cancel auto ship at any time. But here's the great thing. Customers get a 90-day money back guarantee. So there is no risk. David says this, 50% of the people will notice something in 1 to 10 days. 50% it takes 30 to 90 days because sometimes, once again, the reason that David gives a 90-day money back guarantee for customers or preferred customers is because sometimes it takes 30 to 90 days to actually make the repair happen, because sometimes it's going to repair an internal organ first, and that takes some time. And so that's why he does that. We also have the bigger packs. We call those the wholesale packs or distributor packs. We like the silver pack, which is $2.99, and you get 3 of these sleeves. Or we like the diamond pack for $1,600, and you get 19 of these sleeves. This allows you to come in and be part of the business if you so desire. I started with the silver pack. I had enough for myself, for my husband, and then some to share. And it was only $2.99. Well, I shared 5 of them with Peter No, and Peter said, Marcy, I love these patches and I want to do the business. And he said, I want a diamond pack. So what did I do? I just upgraded. I paid the difference between the diamond and the silver pack. I got the difference in patches, and I got a better unit price, and I was able to make more money on the compensation plan. And I stayed active for 3 months. So that was a great way to do it. But the great thing is this is a gifting business. It's not a push business. So get in where you're comfortable. You can upgrade at any time and just pay the difference. So, and we do gift with these envelopes, and they're wonderful. And all we do is share a few links, and people see what it is, and if they'd like to try it, we just send some gifts out. And from there, we have built over 3,500 people in our business in the last 10 months. So gifting seems to be where it's at. So with that, you can get more information by going to startx39.com. There's a 3-minute video on how stem cell activation patches work. There's an 18-minute video by David Schmidt, and he actually gives the science and what issues they help with. And then there's research and testimonials. It reminds you how to wear it. It's great. So once again, startx39.com. So with that, Christine, thank you so much for sharing your testimonial, your heart, your gifts. I hope that all of you found this of benefit. You also get to see how beautiful our team is. When there's something that goes crazy, somebody always steps in. I will say more than anything, this is a community that has each other's back, and I love you guys all for that. This is Monday, Tuesday night. Do not miss Dr. John Harmon and Savvy Vargas. They will be doing the X39 review and testimonial at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. It's always a wonderful call. So with that, we will talk to you all later, and just have a really great evening. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Good job. Yay.
Yay.